This DSA1 UGA consumer of college football rants and opinions. I was thinking about changing the name of fan because I'm not a fanatic of college football. I'm not crazy about it, like to the point to where it's, I don't know, make me not kick it with family members because they don't like a certain team or they don't like my team or whatever the case may be. Or maybe I should stick with the word fan still because I am a casual fan of the sport. I have some knowledge in things of that nature on UGA, but I'm not really looking up a whole lot of stuff as far as history because I'm just more in the aspect of liking the sport of football. But anyway, I had to stop my other video. Had some business I needed to take care of and got that solved. But Kangaroo Black, I like that YouTuber quite a bit. I get information from him as well. He's not the type of dude that I would necessarily say is a bad guy or down, like talk bad about him in that aspect. I actually like him. I like a lot of YouTubers that talk about college football. But I'm basically using him as a reference as to where I got my talking points from last night's live stream that he was hosting. And I think I already talked about this, was the Arch Manning situation. I did look up some UGA players. I wish I would have wrote them down, but I just did it real quick just to see what was going on as far as who we have there, like not freshmen, but juniors and seniors. Now, after this year, I can literally say we might take a decent step back because a lot of juniors we have on the team might leave, and I don't think I went all the way through the roster. I went pretty far down, but I didn't go all the way through the roster to see what was what really that was there. I mean, who all was really there. And I see Georgia has two other quarterbacks, like Muschamp is one and Presley or something to that effect is another one. But I heard that or read in the comment section that he's not a quarterback, he's a wide receiver. Well, on this website that I went to, they still have him listed as a quarterback. And then it was some other like redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores that were running backs that I haven't even seen yet. So they're more likely on the third string or whatever the case may be. But they're freshmen and sophomores. So hopefully people thinking that our running back depth chart in that section of the offense is slim. From what I looked at, is far from that. We still got another 3 or 4 behind Kears Jackson and Kendall Milton. It's like 3 or 4 more guys. Well, I take that back because there's one more guy behind them. It's like 3 or 4 more guys behind those 3 that could possibly be another 1-2 punch with an uppercut behind that. So that's going to be crazy for Georgia in that regard. Also, people thinking Georgia is going to look like LSU and Clemson compared to one of the baddest schools, or the baddest school, which is Alabama. He read off one of my comments last night, which was stating that I just want Georgia to be Georgia and not be Alabama. I don't want Georgia to be Alabama. I really don't. Even though it's going to be compared even though Georgia's going to be compared to Alabama for the simple fact that Bama is a dynasty. There's no knocking that. Florida had their chance with Spurrier and Meyer and McElwain. Didn't work out. Georgia had a good run with Ritt. He was too nice. Way too nice. He was entirely too nice. Because a lot of those games we had and should have won, he should have mashed the gas, but he decided to put the car in park and run the clock out. Can't do that against a Les Miles, Orgeron, Gus Malzahn, Steve Spurrier, Nick Saban, even a Butch Jones. You can't do that with those type of coaches. And I'm glad Mark Richt is gone. There's nothing against the man as far as being a coach or him or his personality, I should say. But with the, I guess you could say, killer instinct of it, when you know your opponent is hurt, go ahead and finish them off. Mark Richt showed leniency. He showed mercy. Kirby was doing that, I say, his first 2 years, because he was working the kinks out, or whatever you want to call it. He was working those out. So, of course, he looked like Mark Richt 2.0. I even said that to an extent. Like, oh, hell, here we go. Looking like Mark Richt again. Get a lead and let them get back in the game. After the last 2 seasons, 2020 and 2021, Kirby is not sparing nobody. I take that back. Kirby wanted Ringo to take a knee on an interception, and Ringo said, screw that, I'm out of here. And ran it all the way back. Ringo got that killer instinct. Put up more points, because if it was Nick Saban in that aspect, he gonna run it up. Kirby still has a little bit of that I don't want to do you too bad type situation, except for Florida. Florida, he gave them that work. When I heard that speech, when he said, I want to break them, I want their will broken, I need him to have that type of energy all season long. All season long. I need that type of, I would like to see that type of energy from Kirby. Not even worried about Georgia Tech. I would like to see Dog Nation and other channels that do talk about the recruits speak more on them, speak more on Gunnar Stockton, speak more on Brock Vandegrift. These dudes, not excluding Gunnar, these dudes have been at Georgia and haven't got a chance to see the field, and you hardly hear anything about them. But all I'm hearing, especially from Dog Nation, the BA section of the game when he's on in the morning, is arch this, arch that. Then he might break off into a running back, wide receiver, offensive line, right back to arch. Then he break off into doing his normal spiel for the day. And that's pretty much it. It's like 80% of the content is on arch. I take that back. That's doing a little bit too much. I say about 60% of the content is mainly on arch. The dude ain't even signed to nobody yet. I'm still not understanding the hype on this. If anybody watched this video that's a UGA fan, break it down to me in the comment section. Or anybody that's a fan of any other team that sees the hype that I don't. Break it down to me, because I'm not seeing it. I'm more hyped to see Carson Beck or Brock Vandegrift get in there and do something. I'm not so hyped to see Gunnar because he just got there. So that's nothing to really for me to be excited about. But I'm more hyped to see one of those two play than Arch. I'm really ready to see one of those two do something this year, even though we already know that's not gonna happen. Not in meaningful time anyway. Kirby Kirby and Todd Monken still have the say so in who plays, which is understandable. But as far as these young men grasping the playbook, which one of them have a better understanding of it? That's who should be number 2. Carson looked good. Brock looked good as far as the spring game went. And I'm not saying look good as in, yeah, they should start immediately. I'm saying look good as in they need some more work and get put in earlier in the season than later. And then the other thing that trips me out, or still trips me out, is how certain fans want to have the gall to talk trash about Georgia when y'all been getting kicked in y'all head the last 3 years. Basically since Todd Monken took over. Like, I'll say 2 years. I'll take that back. I'll say at least 2. 2 years. This year, the way it's shaping up is not going to be any different. We going to probably have a dog fight with Oregon. And then steamroll, score drag, whatever you want to call it, the rest of the East. I'm not even talking about Mississippi State because they're in the West. So, what's going to happen then? Oh, and another hypothetical situation that I thought about that was also brought up on Kangaroo Black's show yesterday. People talking about, oh, it sounds like y'all scared talking about when Nick Saban gonna leave. Even me myself, I'm bringing it up in the aspect. I'm bringing it up in the realistic sense of Steve Spurrier is not gonna be there too much longer, and y'all know that just as well as everybody else. Kangaroo Black said he wouldn't mind seeing Lane Kiffin take over. Do you really think Lane Kiffin can beat Kirby Smart? Like, who all believe that? I seriously don't. And I want to say I think Lane Kiffin played Kirby Smart, and I could be wrong because I don't think Lane Kiffin got to Ole Miss until like a few years, like a year or two after Kirby made it to Georgia, because I think he was still at FIAU or FAU at the time. So, really, like any other coach outside of Nick that make it to Alabama, y'all fans gonna want his head within year 3. Because like I said in the previous video, you got to give a new coach at least 5 years to get the players that he completely recruited all the way in from freshman to senior. Those first 3 years are going to be a different playbook, a different scheme. It might not be different as in a total overhaul, but it's going to be a little different. Alabama's still going to put up points. Alabama's still going to be considered a threat. I consider Alabama a threat until I see otherwise. And that's not being scary. That's just being realistic. Like I see South Carolina being a threat. That's not being scared. That's just being realistic. Florida's always a threat. Even when we blow them out, I still look at it like we need not... UGA football players need not to let Florida score another point. I don't want to see them get nothing on the board. Period. That's just how much I dislike Florida. I don't have a dislike for Alabama or Auburn, really. I just don't want to see Auburn win nothing, especially when it comes to playing Georgia. Now, if they're in a bowl game, I'll pull for them. I'll pull for any SEC team that makes it to a bowl game, because that makes the SEC look better. When they go out here and get to lose and they're looking crazy, I'm looking at it like, as a whole, the fan base as a whole cannot be chanting SEC or it just means more when we barely winning games as far as the bowl season goes. And Alabama did carry the SEC. I was sick of that. I'm still sick of it because somebody out of the West got to knock Alabama off. Nobody in the East for the next 3 years is going to give Georgia that big of a run. Florida just got their coach this year. He still needs 5 more years. South Carolina just got their coach last year. He still needs 4 more years. Heupel just got that, I think, 2 years ago. He needs 2 to 3 more years. And the coach at Auburn, he just got there last year, so he needs 4 more years. Outside of that, who's stopping Georgia? Y'all gonna need help out of the West to do that. And y'all best hope is Alabama, because it's not gonna be LSU, because Brian Kelly just got there, so he needs 4 more years. So when Nick decides to leave right when these 5 or 6 coaches I just mentioned, if they stay there and the fan bases don't want them out of there so quick, or the boosters and the AD don't want them out of there so fast, what would the SEC look like then? And at that point in time, in 3 years, Oklahoma and Texas will be in. And Oklahoma just got their coach this year, so he needs 4 years. He would be just getting into the SEC 3 years in, so at that point he'll need another year, maybe 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. Texas just got their coach, so he needs like maybe another 2 years or a year. So what would an SEC look like at that point? Because the way I'm looking at it, there's Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and that's possibly Arkansas and Kentucky, just because their coach has been there for the longest period of time. I think he came in not too long after Nick Saban did, or at least a few years after that, because he was playing Mark Richt at the time. And maybe Kentucky, there's going to be the consistent ones that don't fall off. Other than that, that's like, to me, the top 4, maybe 5 teams in the SEC at the moment, from East and West. That's including Oklahoma and Texas. Let's just say it stays at the East and West division and it don't go to the pods. I don't see nobody, no team outside of those 5 being consistent. Bama, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas. Bama, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas, and that's about it. Because everybody else really ain't doing nothing, and possibly Ole Miss. I think that's 7. And possibly Ole Miss doing something that, as far as being consistent. Because I think Pittman is only going to get better. He's going to become more of a problem. So Alabama will have to deal with, depending on how LSU do this year, Auburn, Arkansas, maybe Ole Miss or Mississippi State. That's 3 threats that they got over there. Georgia has possibly Florida, South Carolina, possibly Tennessee. That's it. 2 possibles and a definite, which is, well, I take that back. Tennessee can be a possible threat. South Carolina can be a possible threat. Kentucky, they getting to the point where they're becoming a threat. South Carolina and Florida. So 2 possibles and 2 guaranteed threats. I say it like that. So I mean, what really can be said about who's stopping Georgia in the East at this point? Well, that's pretty much all I got for right now, man. This is part 2 of part 1. UGA consumer, fan, casual fan, whatever you want to call it, opinion and rants. Catch me on my MeWe, go there and chop it up, drop some info, trash talk a little bit. Pretty much that's it, y'all. Holla at your boy.